Beginning in the late 19th century, horror films started to frighten audiences and became a dominant part of the early film industry. The first true horror film was the 1896 picture, The Devil's Castle. This was a short 2-minute feature that focused on a bat flying into a haunted castle, turning into the devil, conjuring up various nymphs, demons, and skeletons before disappearing into a cloud of smoke. Since its humble beginning, horror films have evolved and changed along with the film industry. The 1922 German feature, Nosferatu, was an unofficial adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and was the first on-screen portrayal of a vampire, leading to many others in the decades that followed. By the 1930s, horror had established itself as its own genre and had become very popular among audiences. In 1931, Universal Studios released their films Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, and Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff. Both films quickly became classics of cinema and led to Universal to produce many others in the years that followed. Their popularity among audiences also showed other studios that horror films were here to stay. By the 1960s, the film landscape was dominated by Edgar Allan Poe stories, such as The Pit and the Pendulum and The Raven, as well as murder mystery thrillers. Directors such as Alfred Hitchcock and Roman Polanski were masters within the suspenseful thriller genre, and created such classics as Psycho, Vertigo, and Repulsion. These American thrillers would have a direct impact on what Italian filmmakers would contribute to the horror genre in the decade that followed. The type of subgenre they created would simply be known as Giallo. The term Giallo refers to a style of Italian films that were created during the 1970s and 80s. These films took the suspenseful thriller format, perfected by American filmmakers in the 1960s, to new extremes, usually overlapping with themes from within the horror genre. Giallo films have certain characteristics, such as depicting a series of grisly murders, usually of women, performed by a masked or unknown assailant. The main themes these films deal with are paranoia, violence, sexuality, mental illness, and the fact that everybody has secrets. What makes this genre so unique is the way the filmmakers use artistic cinematography, vivid colors, and graphic violence, combined with an extremely unique and powerful film score. 3 prominent Italian directors emerged within this genre throughout the 70s and 80s: Mario Bava, Dario Argento, and Lucio Fulci. Each has their own unique style of filmmaking, and each is considered masters of the medium. Mario Bava created the first Giallo film in 1962 with The Evil Eye, but it was not till his second feature, Blood and Black Lace, that he cemented his place as one of Italy's most prominent directors. With this film, Bava goes mad with pulsing colors, prowling camera work, ornamentally outrageous decor, and brutal scenes of violence. The story involves an unknown person killing off models at a high-culture fashion house, using methods as brutal as the models are desirable. Dario Argento is considered the most stylish of the Giallo directors, having created some of the most artistic and creative films ever created. His signature is usually in extremely vivid colors, beautiful architecture, creative cinematography, and grandiose storylines, usually involving beautifully creepy scores by the Italian group Goblin. One of his most pivotal films is the 1977 feature Suspiria. The story involves a young American woman who attends a prestigious dancing school in Freiburg, Germany, but the school actually houses a coven of malevolent witches. Argento's use of color in his films truly has no equivalent, and is one of the most effective elements within his films. Lucio Fulci's style is much more morbid and intense than the other two, showing some of the most graphic depictions of violence ever put on film. His 1980 masterwork, The Gates of Hell, is perhaps his most stylish. The story revolves around a priest in the small town of Dunwich in upstate New York, who by hanging himself opened a gateway to hell. Zombies begin to rise within the town, and the locals begin to lose their minds. All three of these directors perfected their storytelling abilities throughout this time period and had a profound impact on the horror genre as well as the film industry as a whole. This directly led to the slasher genre that popularized American cinemas in the late 1970s and 80s. Giallo as a genre is, in my opinion, the most artistic and interesting phase the horror genre has gone through and truly showcases the full emotional and psychological power the medium has over audiences when in the hands of creative, capable people who have truly mastered their craft.